Viewer beware, you're in for a scare.
This podcast is not suitable for children or those who are easily disturbed. Spoiler warning for whatever is in the title of this episode.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share and subscribe. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/thehorrorofbabylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that The Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible and all other major podcast apps.
Welcome to what I believe is episode 135 of The Horror of Babylon, where we discuss Goosebumps, the Werewolf of Fever Swamp by R.L. Stine. I am Ryan, and with me, as always, is Daniel. Say hi, Daniel.
Woo!
Woo! Okay, and before we thank our patrons, I am opening a beer. This is the first beer I've had since New Year's Eve of last year. Today's July 5th.
Yeah.
So about 6 months and a weekish, a little less than. So here we go. Ow.
This is my my second beer. My dad wanted beer and steak for Father's Day, so that's what he got.
Cool.
And I hung out with him for 4 hours for that.
Nice.
He taught me to cook steak, so I learned a recipe this year.
Nice. All right, here we go. And I'm going to salute the patrons.
Salute them.
Salute. Ooh, that's yummy.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah. Okay. And thank you to our patrons, including Abigail the First, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, and
Logan,
the Full Metal Patron, and Ben the Fourth, Patron of Hope, and Mia the Fifth, the Rainmaker.
She makes it rain, yo.
Oh, she makes it rain. And Sierra the Sixth, the Keyblade Patron. And thank you to Four Horsemen Comics and Gaming, which you can visit at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia, the Mall at Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can shop online at fourhorsemen.tcgplayerpro.com. And if you make it in the store, say hello to Ronald of Christmas. And I've actually hacked their security cameras. So I'm actually good. I know he's at the store now, so we're just going to get into their security system. And we're going to see where Ron is. Oh, he's in the back room. All right, let's just zoom in on him. Oh, he's crying. This is embarrassing.
How I tend to picture people when I read books, I literally pictured Ron as the swamp hermit the whole time. I don't know why he's who popped in my head, but that was who the swamp hermit looked like as I was reading this.
I pictured the swamp hermit from the TV show.
That's what I thought would happen, but instead it was Ron.
Although I did imagine him screaming and yelling gibberish like the cat lady from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Even though he doesn't, he talks, but...
I can't see leprechauns without thinking of you now.
Okay, trigger warning. Florida?
Florida's a trigger warning.
Yeah, and stupid parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, I take a lot of issues with the dad particularly in this book.
Goosebumps has a series of stupid parents. This one is
I think this one stands out
a little bit more egregious than the ones we've been with so far.
Yeah. Okay, our history with the Werewolf of Fever Swamp. Go ahead.
Pretty much the same as my other Goosebumps stories. I think this is one of the few ones I'd actually read before.
Mm-hmm.
But I read it after I saw the TV show and watched my VHS until it was worn out.
Yeah, I also read this one, probably saw the show first. We did have this one on VHS, and we watched it a lot. I think either this one or The Haunted Mask was one of those two was the ones we watched the most.
Yeah. The cover always sticks out to me too.
I think it has one of the better covers.
Yeah. It's another one of the iconic ones.
So speaking of covers, let's go to our new section of the show where we discuss the covers. And of course, if you're watching the YouTube version, they'll be right there in the video. But if you're listening to an audio version of the show, we'll tell you which one we're looking at so that you can Google it. And of course, we're going to start off with the original with art by Tim Jacobus. I love the purple and the green.
Yeah.
Not only, like, of course, the title, but then it uses a ton of purple and green in the background of the art.
No, it's a very good cover that makes everything pop just right.
Mm-hmm.
They're using the green for the water, very swamp-esque.
Mm-hmm.
It's Joker colors now that I think of it.
Yeah, it is.
But I like the you got the kids' clothes right there. Cool looking wolf. Like I don't know if we'll probably come across it, but I'm not a big fan of the new cover.
I'm not a big fan of it either. Like some of the other ones, it's passable, but
yeah.
All right, well, let's go to the American reprint cover. Honestly, I think it looks like a rat.
Yeah, it looks a lot more like a rat.
It tries to reuse the same color scheme, but it's just not as effective.
My big problem is the werewolf is just too thick.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you don't like your werewolf's thick? That was a joke.
Not here. Because it makes it look more ratty.
Yeah, and it does. I think it looks like a rat. If it just tail was thinner, I think it would just be a rat.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the UK cover. That's freaking weird. What is this, a Teen Wolf book?
Look at how he's quirkily raising his eyebrow, like,
He kind of looks like Michael J. Fox a little bit. And look at the wolf, like...
What a quirky adventure I'm on.
The wolf just looks like it got the thing that Kakashi does to...
Yeah, the butt thing.
The butt thing, yeah.
1,000 years of pain!
Yeah. That thing. Okay, well...
That's not cool, Kakashi. You just molested a kid.
Yeah, that's really not cool. Yeah, I mean, he also, reads porn while he's teaching them, so... That tells you all you need to know about him. So yeah, the other UK covers were much creepier than this one. I mean, this one's creepy, but in a different way. Okay, and then I think this is the French cover, which I like it a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it really fits the book. I think this would be cool as something else, because it's like a big black dog in a wheat field. This looks to me like the artist didn't really read the book. But I like the cover in and of itself.
Yeah, pretty good. The French keep going for these imposing covers.
Yeah.
I feel like the French are really trying to sell the horror portion of Goosebumps.
Yeah. Which I like.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is the
Hardy Boys.
This is the Dutch cover.
The Hardy Boys and the Werewolf of Fever Small.
It does look like a Hardy Boys book. I'm not feeling this one.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah. No, let's move on. Okay, and then this is I think this one is German.
It's not bad. It's very simple, but it's wolf eyes and there's a full moon.
And a shadow of a tree branch reaching across the full moon.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's definitely not the best one by far, but I like it. All right, let's get into some of the Asian ones.
Ooh.
This is the Korean one. Again, the Korean one taking a real different approach.
Yeah, something about these Korean ones. I'm like, I wouldn't mind having that on my shelf.
It's cool. It definitely sticks out.
Yeah.
And then this one is the Indonesian one. That's also strange.
It's very artsy.
Yeah. I like the wolf, how it's kind of top heavy and thin at the abdomen, kind of reminds me of Dog Soldiers.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite werewolf designs.
Yeah, same.
The overly the prison body. You got the overly buff top, but you can't do leg day right, so you got all the skinny parts.
Yeah, this werewolf definitely skips leg day.
Yeah.
Hiya! Happy Easter!
The vampire's a pure myth, superstition. I may be able to bring you proof that the superstition of yesterday can become the scientific reality of today.
Okay, so The Werewolf of Fever Swamp is the 14th of the original 62 Goosebumps series. It was published in December of 1993. It is the only one, there's never been a sequel to The Werewolf of Fever Swamp, which is in a lot of ways kind of disappointing, but in other ways, it was kind of good.
It could be good, it could be bad. Yeah. I kind of would like a sequel, but...
Yeah, I would too. It was adapted in a 2-part episode of the original Goosebumps TV series. It's season 1, episodes 18 and 19. And The Werewolf of Fever Swamp was also adapted as a graphic novel in 2006 as a part of the Goosebumps graphic series. And there is also an audiobook.
And that's that. Another story in the classic, infallible 3-act structure. Good enough for Aristotle, good enough for The Simpsons.
Mr. Sislak, I have a feeling there's going to be one more act to this story.
Well, I'm not hanging around for that. 4 acts.
Structure and themes. I took 0 notes. I'm sorry.
I also took 0 notes, but at the same time, you know how we were talking about how, what was the dummy one?
Night of the
Living Dummy. Mm-hmm. And the Haunted Mask were, at least for kids' books, surprisingly deep, had good themes.
Yep.
And we were talking about how The Beast from the East was sort of this, we sort of overjudged Goosebumps as this silly, doesn't have anything else going for it sort of thing. I feel like Werewolf of Fever Swamp sort of falls in the middle.
Yeah, it doesn't have a real deep story like The Haunted Mask or super obvious themes, but it's also not super set piece driven the way, and there's not a lot of gross out portions of it like Beast from the East.
Yeah, it does have characters, but everything about them is not as deep as some of the other ones.
It's a lot more plot driven.
Yeah.
I say this one, it's kind of a slow burn, and that you kind of just keep building and building till you get to the twist of the end.
And the climax, yeah.
Which I think I remembered the twist.
Yeah, me too.
So I can't really judge it on that, but I think it got me as a kid. I don't remember calling it. I doubt I did.
I can't remember either, so that's just too hard to judge. But for me, like I said, this one felt right in the middle of between Beast of the East, gross out, we're not taking it super seriously, and The Haunted Mask.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I think it is an effective story. Yeah. I think it does a real good job of just kind of establishing what the situation is, and then just giving you a little bit at a time. Here's the dog. Here's the dead rabbit. Here's the dead deer. Here's one neighbor. Here's another neighbor. Here's the hermit. Just gives you little pieces.
I'm the werewolf.
I'm the werewolf.
God, I hope I'm a homeless crazy person someday so I can scare some children.
Yeah, honestly, that doesn't sound like the worst way to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the cops gonna do to me? Put me in a room where I get a free meal?
Yeah, exactly. I live in a shack in the swamp. Your jail cell is like the Ritz-Carlton. Thank you.
I get to be warm for an evening. I guess they're in Florida, so it's always hot.
Yeah. Maybe I'm sure they have to keep the jails in Florida air conditioned.
Yeah, I get air conditioning for
they would have to. Okay. And then themes. It's just very goosebumpy tropes, kids moving
and they don't want to move.
Conflicts with siblings, conflicts with parents. You meet weird new kids.
Kids wanting to keep the dog.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I mean, you're a parent. I'm sure you've come across I want to keep this thing that we obviously can't keep.
It's usually me.
Yeah, it's also usually me.
Really, honestly, Beck, Emma, and Drake, none of them are really animal people. I'm really the only one.
See, that's why me and you should have gotten married.
Yeah, well.
Another timeline.
Next life.
Yeah.
We'll just, on our deathbeds, we'll convert to Hinduism.
Yeah.
And hope we don't come back as banana slugs.
That'd be even better, because then we won't have to think.
So in my free time, since I don't have to spend all my time reading giant novels for the Horror of Babylon, I've been reading other giant novels. And I've been reading Stephen King's second most recent book after You Like It Darker, Fairy Tale, which is actually, and I didn't know this until I started, is actually a dog novel. It's like he took a page from Dean Koontz, and he's like, he read Watchers, and he's like, oh, I can do that better. And so far, it's much better.
I think I've told you and our viewers this before. I'm not allowed to read at work anymore, in the hallways at work. And they also banned our phones from being inside the hospital. So now I just do an absurd amount of push-ups at work. And I'm coming up with crazier and crazier workouts until they ban push-ups so I can get in an argument with my management.
The main character of Fairy Tale is currently in a prison in a fantasy world, and all he does is push-ups.
I did 350 push-ups last night.
That's a lot of push-ups.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do, ban push-ups?
Yeah, like... You, in your email, you said we can get up, we can pace, we can do anything, but we can't read, we can't do puzzles.
Okay, that sounds rough.
Yeah. Especially on the nights when I'm on a floor that has, like, back-to-back, like, 3-hour sits.
All right, so let's go to characters, and we'll start off with our protagonist, Grady Tucker, who's your typical Goosebumps kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Again, unlike some of the other ones we've had to talk about, he's not that deep outside of, I didn't want to move. Mm-hmm. Can I please keep the dog?
But he's dealing with it better and acclimating more than his sister, Emily.
Yeah.
I actually remembered... I remembered really not liking Emily when I was a kid, thinking like, oh, she's such a mean big sister. She's actually like a lot nicer than I remembered from when I was a kid.
Same.
I mean, like, they argue... But like
it's like basic teasing.
Yeah, it's not like the twin sisters in Night of the Living Dummy, how they are.
I'm gonna wreck the entire kitchen and then not admit it.
That was awful. Okay, so let's talk about the parents, and I hate these parents, specifically the dad. Like, okay, so one, I'll say this, and this I can kind of forgive because I have been to both Florida and Vermont.
Sorry.
Vermont is amazing.
Oh, okay. I haven't been there.
Vermont is one of the most beautiful states I've ever been to.
Moving to Vermont.
So, moving from Vermont to Florida is about one of the last decisions I would ever make as a person. But I understand okay, we'll set that aside. Don't let your kid wander around in the swamp by themselves. He lets them do it. The very first time they get lost, and they get chased by a vagrant.
It was the 80s, Ryan.
It wasn't the 80s, it was the 90s, but he lets them go again.
Yeah, he lets it happen twice.
No, they do it like 3 times.
Yeah.
And once he gets bit by a snake, and if your kid gets bit by a snake and you weren't there to identify the snake, take them to the hospital.
Just in case.
Just in case. Like, he just like, was it green? Green snakes aren't poisonous. Like, sure, yeah, like most of the poisonous snakes aren't green. But
it could have been somebody's pet that got away. Because people keep illegal poisonous snakes as pets all the time that just get out.
And especially, like, Florida is known for people keeping reptiles as pets and then them escaping into the wild.
Yeah, and destroy their entire ecosystem.
Yeah. Florida is famous around the world for invasive species. So... if your kid's bit by a snake, take them to the hospital. You're an educated person. You're a scientist. You're a biologist. You should fucking know that.
And honestly, just as a dad, if your kid comes and says, hey, a hobo chased me, your first response shouldn't be go, oh, he's harmless.
Yeah, I heard at the tool store, he's harmless.
You're only going to get molested a little bit. It's the 90s. It's not that big a deal yet.
And like, if... you don't even have to forbid them from going in the swamp. Just go with them.
Just go with them, or like, even if you want to give them like a little bit of freedom, like fence off your property or something. Like a barrier.
We grew up on a pretty big piece of property, and my dad spray painted trees. He's like, okay, you can go up to this tree on your own, but if you go farther than this, you have to go with me.
Yeah. So. And that's fair. The dad, I agree. I had a lot of problems with the dad. It baffles my mind that your kids keep coming back to you with a series of issues, and I get it. Like, you have to have drama happen.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there's like this logical thing. Like, your kids have come to you with like 10 different things at this point. And now your deer cage has been broken into.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a problem.
Yeah. And it's funny because, like, most kids who read this would probably dislike the dad because he tries to take the dog to the pound. And, like, that decision from the dad's perspective with the information he has actually makes sense.
Yeah, that one's fair.
Yeah.
You got a big dog, all of a sudden your deer fence has been broken into.
It was a wild dog, or a stray dog.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a giant leap to make.
You remember the movie the movie Sinister, right?
Yeah.
So one of the biggest critiques I've ever heard of that movie, right, is you have this true crime author who's going to study a true crime. Mm-hmm. And people are like, why don't you just go rent a hotel down there, get the research you need for your book, and then come back home instead of moving into the house? So I'm sitting here going, why don't you just go down on a retreat with a team of scientists, release the deer, and go back down periodically? Like, what requires you to move for this? Because they're going to be released into the wild, and then, what, you're just going to chill in Florida for the rest of your life?
I mean, I guess it depends on, like, how periodically you check in on the deer, but surely it's not daily.
Yeah. I can't imagine it's even weekly.
Yeah. And, I mean...
And speaking of invasive species, they're like, hey, we're just going to introduce this new Mr. Biologist, I'm just going to introduce a foreign element into this fragile ecosystem.
Deer from frickin' South America.
And we're going to see how long it takes for gators to get them.
Oh, yeah, and that's the other thing. Is like, you just let your kids go tromping around in the swamp. These are kids from New England. They know nothing about Florida.
They're gonna go next to a pond and get eaten.
Yeah, by an alligator. And, like, I just saw an article the other day about somebody who got eaten by an alligator in
freaks me
Florida.
out.
Yeah. So, poops to the parents.
I don't want to go near the swamp, but I'm an adult. I'm already afraid of alligators and being drowned for something's meal. Being eaten is just one of my biggest fears anyway.
There was I watched this news thing from Florida recently about this old lady who lived in a development with it had like a big big pond or a small lake in the development, and she was like really old, 70 or 80 something. She lived by herself, and she had a little dog, and she got in trouble for walking her dog in her front yard. She had to go to the little park area that they have in the development, which is next to the water. Mm-hmm. And there was an alligator that lived in there, and the landlords knew about it and didn't do anything. And she went over there to walk her dog, and the alligator came out of the water to attack the dog, and the dog ran away and it ate her instead.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And
people ask me why I won't go to Florida.
They caught it on somebody's door camera, and they showed the whole video up until the point where it snapped at her. So, I saw it go for the dog. I saw the dog ran away. You see it change gears and, go for her and then go like this, and then it cuts it off. And it's like, Jesus Christ. Okay, cool. Florida sucks. All right, characters. So, the swamp hermit.
It's funny. It doesn't really play that big of a role in the book.
No.
So...
It's very much that...
He's a red herring.
He really, really reminds me... One, it's a red herring... But it's also that role that shows up sometimes in kids' movies and kids' books of the homeless person that the kid is initially afraid of, but then learns that they're not so bad, like the pigeon lady in Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Only this one doesn't kind of get that. It's just kind of, I'm not the werewolf.
You're not the werewolf. yeah. Which is good enough, I guess.
I mean, I guess it's better to be. He's just like, I'm just fucking with you, little shit.
And then Will Blake, who's the neighbor kid who is actually the werewolf. Is there any, hints that he's the werewolf?
Because I listened to this book twice. Because I had done it a little bit early. And I was like, it's short. It's only 2 hours long.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything super obvious. Other than he's just another one of the characters to be another suspect, and the only other suspect you could possibly have is the little girl.
Yeah, who's only in one scene, I think.
Yeah. I think she's in one scene, and then they mention her one other time.
Yeah.
I think she's cut from the TV show. I can't remember.
I don't think she's in the show.
Okay. Which, is perfectly fine because it just... But that's the only thing that I could catch. And the fact that he brings up werewolves.
Right.
But, I mean, like, if that counts as a hint, what doesn't count as a hint?
I remember a scene from the show that isn't in the book where Grady goes to his house, and his house is, like, completely trashed.
There's something like that in the book that was really like that there was just no one over there.
His dad went over there,
and
he's like, there's nobody there.
Yeah, like, no one's lived there for a while.
But I remember, like, in the show, like, there being, like, moss everywhere,
and it's, like, it's swampy.
I'll kill you all! I'll drive you crazy, and I'll kill you all! I'm every nightmare you ever had. I am your worst dream come true. I'm everything you ever were afraid of.
Scary shit. Did this book give you goosebumps?
Florida in general kind of gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
But it was nothing about, like, the werewolf story that gave me goosebumps. It was the idea of these two kids are going to get eaten by a gator.
Yeah.
And the dad's just going to be like, gators aren't that dangerous.
They're going to get eaten by a gator, bitten by a snake, molested by a vagrant, or murdered by a vagrant.
And their dad's going to be like, you guys are overreacting.
Yeah.
He'll be at their funeral going, you guys should know better.
What a jerk. My God.
Oh, did we talk about the dog and characters?
No. Bandit?
Was that his name? No, it was Wolf.
Wolf.
It was Wolf.
Yeah.
We gotta call him Wolf.
Okay, so characters, Wolf.
We're gonna put him on a poster with the Predator and Dwight.
Like howling during sex.
I'll be fair to the kid. How old's this kid? Like 10, 12?
10-ish, yeah, something like that.
I'm like, okay, that's the age you name something wolf.
Yeah.
That you like wolves. But at the same time, when I heard that as a 36-year-old man, with all the jokes we've made about Wolf.
I mean, when I was 10, that was the prime age for wearing Wolf Moon t-shirts.
Yeah, like, that's when you could do it.
Yeah, I can get away with it.
But if you do it now, you're cringe.
Yeah, unless you're Dwight.
Unless you're Dwight. I like werewolves. I don't find them particularly scary.
No.
I think when I was, like, really young, like, The Howling scared me the first Howling movie scared me when I was really young. Which is another book I think we should do down the road.
Put it on the season 4 shortlist.
Maybe we'll do, like, Werewolf Wednesdays just as a thing.
Yeah. Cycle of the Werewolf, Silver Bullet, The Howling.
We'll find a bunch of short werewolf books.
Oh,
'cause I've been kind of digging these shorter books.
Alma Katsu's book, The Hunger.
Man, we should really reach out to her again sometime because she is so interactive.
Yeah, we should.
I bet you we could get an interview with Alma Katsu.
And I just downloaded, Stephen Graham Jones has a werewolf book. It was on sale and I downloaded it.
Add that to the list.
Mongrels.
Downloading.
I listened to one of his short stories.
How's he at short stories?
I didn't think that he could create a villain that would be as weird and as fucked up as Elkhead Woman. I was wrong.
Elkhead Woman I was still kind of high on Elkhead Woman.
It was crazy. Like, we'll maybe do. It's a good short story. Maybe we'll do an episode on it at some point.
Oh my God! Are you Stephen King? No, I'm Dean Koontz. Oh.
Kings and Koontz. Daniel, what is your king for the Werewolf of Fever Swamp?
I bounce back and forth about a few things, but the Swamp Hermit just kind of cracks me up. And the dad's reaction to the Swamp Hermit, so I'm going to go with that.
Okay, I'm going to go with actually kind of the slow burning nature of it. Like, I'm not expecting these Goosebumps books to be slow burns, but we've kind of had 2 out of the 4 we've read that have been. And then my Koontz is the dad.
My Koontz is also the dad. And even the Haunted Mask, I wouldn't call a slow burn, but it's like a middle ground.
Yeah.
It's not fast-paced horror, but it's not a slow burn.
Yeah. Okay.
And for such short books, man, the pacing has been pretty good.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Okay, rankings. Oh, shit. Alright, let's let you go.
It's not going to be as high as some of my other ones.
There's Night of the Living Dummy.
I don't like it as much as Night of the Living Dummy. It's above Beast of the East, though, so that's my range. I think I'll put it, like, right below Watchers.
So it's your new number 32, below Watchers and above the Wasteland.
Yeah.
Wastelands.
That wasn't too hard.
I'm going to put it right... It's my new number 31, right below Night of the Living Dummy and above the Little Sisters of Valeria.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we both kind of got it in these like, middle-ish spots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Stein.
Hello, Mr. Black.
Who's that?
He's the new drama teacher.
So there's another Goosebumps, one of the Choose Your Own Scares books, or Give Yourself Goosebumps books, Night in Werewolf Woods, that references the Werewolf of Fever Swamp in the form of a question for the reader.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
Grady and Emily's father is mentioned by name in the...
I don't know.
It looks like he's mentioned in Slappy's Tales of Horror.
Oh, okay.
That's
and
weird.
Creepy creatures.
Okay. According to the Goosebumps official collector's Caps book, the inspiration for the book came to R.L. Stine after a boat ride in a Florida swamp. He saw a deer in the swamp and the image stuck in his head. The book references Bambi, the Discovery Channel, Nintendo, Oakland Raiders, Orlando Magic, and King Kong. Okay. The book's concept of a werewolf living in a swamp might take inspiration from the legend of the Rogaru, a werewolf-like creature that dwells in the swamps of Louisiana. That's cool.
We should go to Louisiana.
Rogaru. The Rogaru is probably worth watching a YouTube video on at some point.
Yeah.
Homework. There was another were creature from Florida living in the swamps to attack the children. What would it be?
A flamingo.
A were flamingo?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm working on a short story about a flamingo that eats children.
That's pretty cool.
Well, I wrote one about that where it eats children, and the sequel it's turned into a full monster that just eats children and builds its nest out of their bones.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So does it turn different colors?
Yeah, the more children it eats, the redder it gets.
I saw some pictures recently from a zoo where flamingos were accidentally fed blueberries and they turned blue.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're naturally white, and it's because of like the krill they eat that turns them pink.
Yeah. What's the governor's name?
In Florida?
Yeah.
Ron DeSantis.
Okay, him.
I'm aware of Ron DeSantis.
Where DeSantis?
I'm gonna take your Disney.
I need to watch that bad lip reading video of him again. That was so funny.
Yeah, we should watch that.
Yeah.
I've been watching way too much political shit lately, and it's been depressing me.
Yeah, I have not.
Yeah, you're better off.
Okay, for further reading, what are some like more family friendly werewolf things?
I think family-friendly werewolf?
Or more family-friendly.
I think the book cycle of the werewolf, aside from maybe one or two stories in there, is pretty okay.
Yeah.
Because there are a couple that get a little graphic.
Mm-hmm.
Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
Oh, what's the one with Michael J. Fox?
Teen Wolf.
Oh, is that Teen Wolf?
That is Teen Wolf.
What am I thinking of?
I don't know.
I'm thinking of some TV show.
Oh, I haven't seen it since it was in theaters, but I don't remember Cursed being very bad.
Yeah, Curse was one that they wanted to make more hyper-violent and weird, but the studio kept, like, pulling Wes Craven and his team back going, no. And so it's kind of a Frankenstein of a movie. I still love it, but I love it in spite of those things.
I remember liking it.
I don't think most werewolf things in general are all that scary. I think, aside from maybe one or two scenes, The Howling 3 is really funny.
The marsupial one.
It's so fucking funny.
Okay.
Full moons don't turn you into a werewolf. It's flashing lights.
Okay, upcoming on the Horror of Babylon. Next Sunday, we're doing our watch-along of the original Goosebumps 1995 adaptation of The Werewolf of Fever Swamp. And then the next Sunday, July 28th, we're doing our next book episode, which is Attack of the Mutant, which is R.L. Stine's book for the comic book fans.
Yeah, look at that dude. Look at the little guy.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites as a kid. I'm looking forward to reading that. And then the next the next Thursday, July 25th, is our second sponsored episode from Four Horsemen for the month, where we are watching Independence Day Resurgence. Yay! Which will be my first time watching it since 2016, and Daniel's first time watching it ever.
Yeah, I one of the YouTubers I watched was talking about it in a video today. And he was talking about, like, how nobody even remembers it.
I remember, like, really... The only thing I remember about it... And actually, I'm not even going to say that because I want you... There's two things I remember about it, and I'm not going to say them because they're things that you'll probably react to.
And all I can think of is, like, when you told me it was 2016, in my brain, the movie came out, like, a year ago.
Nope.
Like, it's just a movie that, like, recently didn't do well instead of a movie that I've forgotten for 6 years. Or
8
years. Yeah. Again, when you turn 30, your sense of time goes away.
You're not wrong.
Everything blurs together from that point on. So, spoilers for people under 30.
All right. Well, speaking to people, some of them are under 30, and some of them are definitely not over 30. But thank you to our patrons, including Abigail the First, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, and
Logan,
the Full Metal Patron, and Ben the Fourth, Patron of Hope, and Mia the Fifth, the Rainmaker.
She makes it rain, yo.
Oh, she makes it rain. And Sierra the Sixth, the Keyblade Patron. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And thank you to Forestman Comics and Gaming, which you can visit at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia, Mall Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can shop online at shop.fourhorsemancomics.com, or you can go. Yeah. So I was there today, picking up comics and doing some transactions, and I was hanging out with Ron in the back, and he was waiting for a shipment from their distributor.
Yeah.
So he decided to check his security camera at the front of the store to see if it had come in. And he gets on his phone and he goes to the security camera, and there's a UPS guy unloading it as theirs. And he goes, "Oh yeah, the brand man is here."
It's stuff like that made me picture him as the hobo. You know, we always talk about, like, doing a Dollar Baby, or I guess that's not a thing anymore.
No.
But, like, doing something. I think we could get Ron to be an actor in something we made, and he'd actually do a good job.
Yeah, we did kind of like a horror fan film when I worked there, the Night of the Living Donnie.
Yeah, he just seems like he's just a great character.
All right. Well, thank you for reading The Werewolf of Fever Swamp and recording with me.
I had a pretty good time.
Yeah. And thank you to our patrons. Stay tuned for our socials and stay scary.
Stay scary, everybody.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share, and subscribe. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher, and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/the Horror of Babylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that The Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, and all other major podcast apps. Stay scary.